Hey guys, this is Pierre, but you can call me Roto Chef, here with RotoBaller to help you with Week 4 lineup advice. This time we'll talk about running backs that I think are must starts and must sits going into the weekend. These are guys that kind of on the fringe here. You're not sure. Do you plug him in? Do you not? Well, it all depends, but let me give you some of the guys I think you absolutely should start, even though you might not want to. So let's start with Chuba Hubbard. Well, you know what? If you picked him up, you might as well use him. I've said that before. Why lay down all that fab and then keep him on your bench unless, well, maybe you're just being sneaky and trying to prevent the CMC owner from having him. Good on you for that. But if you did add Hubbard because you are the Christian McCaffrey owner, or if you just think he's got the upside that might pay off this week, you are right. So besides the fact he's going to be the lead back for Carolina, I think it goes without saying he is not going to be a replacement for Christian McCaffrey. I think we don't need to even go into detail why, but the thing is he is still going to be the main guy and the pass catching back, and that's what was encouraging when McCaffrey went down last week early. Hubbard got 5 targets and caught 3 of them. He really should have caught that other one for a touchdown. His day, fantasy-wise, could have been much better. Of course, that would have helped absolutely nobody, but it would have made for probably even wilder waiver wire because people would have been throwing down even bigger bids on him if those numbers were higher. They should have been. Look, Hubbard can catch the ball. That's how they're going to use him. It won't be too different. Royce Freeman is a capable pass catcher, and his time with Denver, and he could be a threat if Hubbard really struggles. I don't think that's going to happen. Hubbard looked fine rushing the ball. I think he's going to be the guy. I don't think it's going to be a timeshare. They've seen so far in Carolina, they like to give the ball to one guy, just like they did with Mike Davis last year. So long story short, if you are in any way not sure whether you plug Hubbard in right away, do it. Dallas, their defense looked better, shut down Miles Sanders, whatever, last week. Dallas still giving up 5 yards per carry on the ground early in the season. This is not an elite run defense by any stretch. They just had a good game. Look, they scored. They forced turnovers against Jalen Hurts. They got the Eagles away from their game plan. So don't read too much into last week. Hubbard is a must start for you this week. All right, now David Montgomery is a guy you'd think absolutely you'd be starting every single week as your RB2. Well, you probably want no part of the Bears offense these days. I don't blame you. I feel the same way, except this week I'm going to put just a little bit of faith in David Montgomery because I think the Bears have to have learned from last week. They have to. Maybe not Matt Nagy himself, but we're hearing rumors that maybe he's ready to hand play calling duties back to Bill Lazor like he did last year, which actually worked, which makes you wonder why they didn't just start the year that way to begin with. But anyways, there's some rumors that Lazor at least will be more involved in play calling, if not taking over. But also, you think they're going to do something different, make some adjustments besides not having Justin Fields just roll out of the pocket every single time they drop back and not protect him whatsoever. They've got to run the ball, and you think they would figure that out. Look, just don't have him drop back as much. Actually use your running back who's pretty good and try to establish a ground game. And going against the Lions, they absolutely could do that. Not a really tough matchup. So I've got to give just a little bit of hope to the fact that maybe Chicago will do something sensible and try to control the game on the ground. I think Montgomery, you keep him in there and hope for the best. Look, I have higher hopes for him this week than I do for Allen Robinson. Let's put it that way. All right, and then Zack Moss is a guy we'll rarely recommend, but we have to pay attention to the fact that, look, he missed week 1, and we didn't know what the reason was. Found out later it was sort of injury related. Week 2, limited usage, but he was on the field, did score a touchdown. Then week 3, all of a sudden he's out touching Devin Singletary. Could he be the guy who's kind of the 1A now, and then Singletary is the 1B? Well, it looks that way. He had 16 touches last week, and Singletary had 13. And Moss is the guy who's getting the touchdowns, getting the work in the red zone for obvious reasons, bigger back than Singletary. He's getting the receptions. He seems to be the preferred option in the receiving game, not by a big margin, but barely. But Moss, I think we're slowly seeing him kind of establish himself as the lead back. You say, well, big deal. Josh Allen's still there to be the guy who is the main running back for this team, basically, especially near the goal line. But no, we're seeing Moss getting a decent amount of usage. And this week going against Houston, I think it's a good time to trust him and see if he kind of continues his ascent. So I like Moss this week. Singletary, I think he's always going to be what he is. Moss, Sure, he's nothing special. He doesn't have blazing speed or anything like that, but he's kind of that do-it-all back. And you know what? If he's actually going to get red zone touches, I think that's a big boost for his value. Now the must-sits, so I'm going to take a big L on this one. Had Damien Harris as a guy I liked last week to start, and everything I said turned out to be the opposite because no, he is not game script or game plan proof. And yes, the Patriots offense is a mess when they have to play from behind, and we've seen that happen. So against the Saints with the really good run defense, well, they stopped him, and you know what? Basically, once they fell behind, they just stopped giving the ball to Harris. It's not really so much that he had a bad game. He only got 6 carries. So we don't know what would happen in the second half because they just took him out completely. Now James White out. You think that might help Harris? It won't. It will help Brandon Bolden or somebody else who's going to catch passes. Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick. He will always be the exact same when it comes to running his offense. There won't be a running back who is featured too frequently. I love Harris personally, but he is just too game script dependent. And going against Tampa Bay, look, you're going to want to sit a lot of running backs against Tampa Bay in general. Top 5 run defense already this year after being the top last year, limiting running backs to 3.25 yards per carry. So for a guy who only gets carries, doesn't catch passes, and there's a really good chance Tampa Bay will be winning by at least 50 points in this game, something like that. It's the Tom Brady comeback to New England game. Yeah, they're going to be all over it. So you absolutely sit Harris no matter what in this one. Be lucky if he falls into the end zone, gets a touchdown. That's about it. What about Tyson Williams? I also liked him last week because, well, going against the Lions, you would think that the Ravens would have run the ball. And for some reason, they decided they wanted to go pass happy with Lamar Jackson throwing the ball 30-plus times. It didn't seem like they really needed to, but that's what they did. They attacked Detroit deep several times. Should have been a higher score, but the thing that really concerns me is not so much the Ravens offense itself. The fact that now Latavius Murray seeing more carries than Tyson Williams, that's obviously a concern. It looks like he's kind of taking over that lead role, even though Williams has been more effective. But look, if you have a guy who's only getting 5 carries in a game, that's closely contested, and you have another running back and a quarterback who are getting more carries than him, that's a problem. So it's not so much a matter of matchup this week. It's just I think he's fading away from being a reliable fantasy option. There's just too many mouths to feed in that backfield, and they don't really see him as the guy now that Murray's established himself, and Denver has a really good defense. So all told, this is best to just pass on Williams this week in favor of somebody else. And then last but not least is the 49ers. Look, you just want to avoid that whole situation here because we have no idea what's happening. I like Trey Sermon still. Apparently Kyle Shanahan doesn't, and that's a problem. So Elijah Mitchell, we see that he's been sort of at practice but limited, in doubt for Sunday. You can't roll Mitchell out because even if he does play, how healthy is he? How much will he be used? So Mitchell is an absolute no-go. As far as Sermon then, what if Mitchell doesn't play? And then it's Sermon's backfield. It was Sermon's backfield last week. Not much came of it. This is just a mess here. We see the fullback, Kyle Juszczyk, being used just as much. It seems like there's just no commitment either way. And look, just to be honest here, there was one good week, which was week 1, where we saw Elijah Mitchell have that big game. But since then, nobody in that backfield has had a big game, whether it's Sermon or Mitchell. Had a disappointing week 2, with disappointing week 3 for Sermon. Maybe there just isn't going to be a 49ers running back that breaks out this year. We haven't considered that. We're always wondering who it's going to be. Maybe it's nobody. Okay, but either way, this week, I'm leaving that situation alone. Let's see if it somehow resolves itself, but we don't need to be playing roulette here and putting guys randomly, picking the flavor of the week and see who hits. Let's just wait and see what happens. Right now, there's nobody I trust enough to put in my starting lineup, at least in week 4. All right, so those are some of my favorite start and sits at running back. Guys, RotoBaller.com always has the latest updated rankings to help you build your lineup, so check back in here all the time. Our news desk does a great job smashing it out, so be on top of it. And, of course, check our other videos for start, sit, and waivers all week long right here.